Hello everybody. This video is a little bit different than some of the other videos from my channel, but nonetheless, the content that I try to create it in the most appropriate environment that I think of at the time for it. So regardless of that, um, the purpose of this video, I wanted to talk about the events that transpired and how the overall reception of the event for Balefire went from everywhere from the initial plan up, the announcement going through, and then some of the ending events that transpired after, as far as some of the reception that we received in the end of it. After that, I'm going to talk about some of my beliefs on how the community can really utilize how Balefire was as a really good training asset for themselves. So to start off with this event, uh, Operation Balefire Rebirth, myself, Ozark Walker, and OCI, we planned this event, I would say, from the day the event started, probably about a good 7-month lead up, I would think. Maybe even 8 months from our original event that happened in last year in Operation Vine Walk, which was a separate event. Try and figure out how to put those links to that video or content related to it around me. But that being said, though, after Vine Walk had concluded, and I had returned home all the way from Oklahoma back here to Georgia, where I'm at currently at this video, I stayed in contact with Ozark Walker and OCI as a whole, and we really started talking about wanting to do something else, something a little bit bigger. Now that we had gotten to know each other a little bit, everybody who had come to the event, and myself included, we wanted something more. We felt like we had the ability to come together as like-minded individuals that we were, and how well we all meshed together to come up with something new. So after some planning and some deliberation, we decided to take the events that transpired at Vine Walk with the force on force aspect of it, and wanted to continue the pursuit of that and evolve it into something more, a larger force on force operation. Our original intent when we started Balefire, we were hoping for at least a minimum of 12 people, but when we completed the initial planning and went through the announcement phase of it, we received a lot of good feedback as far as people that were wanting to do it. People wanting to travel. I mean, when the event started, we had people who came all the way out from Oregon State and California, and then there was myself all the way from Georgia, and then just everybody from the central part of the U.S., from Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, who came out to this event. Amazing individuals, every single one of them. As the video or some of the B-roll footage behind me is rolling through, I'm trying to blur out a lot of the faces as best I can, just out of just simplistic privacy for them. But to discuss the overalls of the event when it came through, we had created the lore for the event almost entirely on the spot. It was one thing that we overlooked, but I think it turned out great as far as the Oplaf and OCI going against each other head to head, one being NATO backed, one being Ruski backed. And it created a really good dynamic and a sense of competitivism between the Op4 element and the Blue 4 element. When I was finalizing some of the ideas and the planning with the rest of the other cadre guys that we had out there, and I say cadre, I mean just the people, to include myself, that wanted to step up into a leadership position. We started finalizing some of the stuff out there. I really heavy-setted I pushed hard for heavy-setting the Op4 to be filled with the most capable and experienced people compared to Blue 4. And even giving Op4 the chance of a drone. That was one thing we wanted to include with this event, when we had a guy come up named Silk G who just really put it out there, like, we should do this, and we ran with it. We wanted to get a drone out there and to kind of level the playing field. I get Blue 4 the ability for, call for fire or artillery, while Op 4 did not. And this event definitely opened my eyes to a lot of things. And number one being is just drones alone, even within the aspect of how the drones were utilized. And I say drone, I mean drone. Just one singular drone, no matter how much you, I would say, are proficient in your SUT, your small unit tactics, and if you're not prepared for a drone, it throws a massive wrench into everything. And even as limitedly effective as this drone was within the heavily wooded areas that we were operating in and out of, it was still very much a fear and an overwhelming aspect for somebody like myself that was taking up a squad leader-esque role type of mantle, and trying to keep Blue 4 combat effective while also worrying about a drone that outright can make the entire unit combat ineffective for the most part. Not even just on the casualty side of it, but the adjustments in having to pick up and move as Op 4 takes the initiative. I mean, we had 3D printed munitions that were dropped from this drone that whistled on the way down, and it takes over the entire battle space. You know, we were using blanks out there. It just took over everything, and one thing I need to jump back to is just the overwhelming support from the people who helped us fund this event, from everything from the people that showed up to the people that didn't even come, that donated money. If it wasn't for those people, including the people and the money from others that had come out, it would have not been possible. And I can't thank people enough. I should have probably put that before, but if you're watching this far into the video, I appreciate it, and I hope that this stands out to you. But to go back to the drone aspect and finish it off, is a singular drone can change the entire premise of how the combat and or soot environment is being handled. And it was quite the experience being on the other end of that. To conclude on Balefire as a whole, taking a lot of men, there was like 18 of us out there, taking a lot of men who had not really done small unit tactics, training them up, going through our lanes over this 3 or 4 day event, and watching their ideas and understandings of the event as it transpired, and their understanding of how to move through the woods, shoot, move, communicate, this, that, and the other. You could see the growth, not only just from the Blue 4 side, but from the Op 4 side as well. Obviously, there were still some control and parameters that us leadership cadre people, as we were training within all of this, doing were kind of pulling the strings to keep the event somewhat in a timeline and or a fashion to where the forces operated differently against each other dependent upon the outcome of an engagement. We had about 4 to 5 engagements, and we would evolve the next engagement off of the previous one. It was quite the event to behold. A bunch of people, hardly, apart from myself and maybe a couple of others, not much militarized organization. And that's something that I really want to harp into as I speak on the last part of this video. An event such as Balefire can present itself in such a positive format for the community within this sphere that we are a part of. A lot of us are very blessed for some of the individuals that are within this community that have the knowledge set, the drive, the sheer motivation and go-getters is quite large. But I believe that there is a little bit of schisming that happens within this community as well. That if a lot of people can push their differences aside, regardless of, whether what gear I wear or what tactics I really train, every single one of these has a different play. We've got some people that are heavy-handed in, LARP training, preparedness for war, for shit hits the fan, for systemic collapse. There's so many different people within the sphere that all are in different things that if a lot of us can put our differences aside and come together to formulate these massive events, more people can really pull a lot of positivity from these, a lot of good trainings. I mean, you have these massive organizations like Milsim West, the Gray Solution guys I've heard of. There's a couple of others. I can't think of them off the top of my head. I'll probably list them all that I know of next to me. There's a lot of these big time organizations that you can easily go out. Tier Solutions or something, I believe. Regardless, there's a lot of organizations out there that you can pay good money to experience what we did at Balefire. But the thing that I would like to promote the hardest with Balefire is that you don't need a big organization to go out and do it. If you can build a good tight-knit group of at least 30 go-getters, 30 guys that are just ready to get after it, maybe even less, you're capable of a lot more than you could really imagine. And I think it has to do with a lot of the coming together and putting differences aside, but both training and attitudes towards each other. Mindset's a big thing, but if everybody's within the same boat of wanting to train and better themselves, you should be able to put your differences aside, swallow your pride, and come to each other with a good sense of humility and good faith with each other to really speak about, well, here are the reasons why I train the way I train and why I wear the gear that I wear. And, if you're another person who may not agree with that, swallowing your pride and having a sense of humility to understand, okay, well, this is where they're coming from. Let me at least hear and look at some of the trainings and the things that they do. And what if I take what I want to do and the things that I push for, and what if I try to help find a middle ground? That seems to be a big thing that I see. A lot of these people, and when I say people, there's big names that are within this community that a lot of us know of. And I'm not trying to call anybody out, but at least by name. But by actions alone, there are way too many people that are, in an aggressive sense, at each other's throats consistently over, well, I don't like the way this guy thinks because I hear based on so-and-so, or I don't like the way he trains just because, he rocks belt kit only, or they rock armor, and I don't want to do armor all the time. It doesn't matter. If people really want to promote themselves in the sense of, I want to make training better, not only for myself but the others around me, then you need to stop thinking like that. You need to put everything to the side, come together, lay out what it is you all know, throw it into a pot, and formulate something. These events that this event with Balefire that I set up with OCI, it took a lot of planning, but from people that were able to put their pride aside and come together on middle ground understandings. And I believe that looking past the drama, we have the ability as a community as a whole to host good trainings, good events, to bring people together. Some of these events, when it comes to just going out there in the field with a bunch of like-minded men, changes people for the better. And I don't want to get necessarily too much into details with that, but there are some people that came out to this event that were very, very thankful for us doing what we were doing and letting us let them come to this event. So to conclude everything, Balefire, in my eyes, was an overwhelming success. The community can benefit from an event such as Force on Force and Blanks in a really positive manner. And it provides a really great element of growth. And even with it not being necessarily Blanks with Force on Force, or even Force on Force in general, the ability to host an event to bring people together from different parts of the country um, really presents itself in a manner that a lot of people should be striving for. I want nothing but positivity and growth from this community, but it seems very stunted right now, very, very minuscule, very handicapped into what it can become just from key factors of just a multitude of different people that are either whether up in the community sphere when it comes to popularity or even just people one-on-one with their differences. So yeah, put your differences aside, come together as a community. If you want to have and experience good trainings, do it. Reach out to people, and even reach out to those that you might not necessarily agree with, because they might bring something to the table that you find useful. So I have a lot more content that I want to make in the future that is coming down the pipeline. I just have to figure out better ways to do it. But nonetheless, um, great opportunities are on the horizon as long as people seek it in a positive way. So, God bless. May Christ be with you all. And I'll see you guys in the next video.